So why are we in this realm? Ben 10, you called it? In order to find out just where that clone of yours came from, we need to narrow down the possibilities, and with there being millions of DNA from aliens here, that leaves plenty to work with. Now, my friend should have left those samples at... Friend? Professor Paradox. He's dealt with time travel, which isn't too far off from dimensional travel, so of course we had to meet each other at some point. Wait, is he from this dimension then? Indeed. And what do you mean not far off? Dimensions and time aren't anywhere near each other, says the person that knows nothing about either one. Well, maybe you could explain it to me at some point. But I thought that whole dimensional border thing had to be intact. I thought you said I couldn't tell anyone that I'm from another dimension. The idea of other dimensions existing is valuable information that people can use to do some really stupid things and get themselves and others killed, which is why I've been telling you that you can't tell others that you're from another dimension. Most of the time, we're not supposed to interfere with how these worlds play out. But there are those few that we can trust. So, we need to let events play out how they should. No matter what? Ah, here it is. Anyways, yes, that is what needs to take place. We need to act out whatever role works best for each realm, and pretend we're just a part of the normal everyday life that goes on in these realms. Which helps since you're practically just as pathetic as most of the people in this dimension. Whatever. Is that normal? Well, Vilgax invading is rare, but yeah, normal. Ben 10 Alien Force. Wait, I already talked about Alien Force. I guess I'll talk about Vilgax then. His name is in the title. This is gonna be weird. Vilgax, a major villain within the Ben 10 universe that has tried for years to take over and or destroy planet Earth, only to be stopped by Grandpa Max and or Ben Tennyson on multiple occasions. Despite the obvious warrior exterior, he still has his own planet and people that he cares about, showing more of a human nature to him. Vilgax has become an iconic face for Ben 10 and is pretty well loved as a villain. And what better way to capitalize off of that fanbase love than with a game almost completely about Vilgax's typical takeover. However, this game also took a bit of a different direction compared to the last two games, which I've done reviews for already. But today, we're going to be looking at Ben 10 Alien Force Vilgax Attacks to see if those changes were for the better or for the worse. Vilgax is in the process of conquering Earth with the help of Siphon, which is similar to how Vilgax invades in Vengeance of Vilgax, though these don't have any connection to each other. Ben, Gwen, and Kevin are holding them off when a few things happen. Professor Paradox tells Ben he can't use Alien X before disappearing off like he usually does. Ben ends up using the Omnitrix so much that it has to reboot in order to restore its functions, and Professor Paradox appears once again to tell everyone that it's too late to save Earth. However, it's not too early. So he takes us back into the past to prevent this situation from happening. He also has a message from Grandpa Max telling him to go to planet Vulpin. After getting there with the assistance of Ship, the gang finds out about some alien tech energy cores that Vilgax wants in order to dominate Earth. And now they have to go to different planets in order to find the alien tech and then stop Vilgax while also running into some familiar faces. Now, despite time travel being involved in this game, the story is really simple and works well, and also had some moments that were pretty hype to me, like going to the Null Void using Ship, and especially the fact that the story gives a reason as to why Ben doesn't have access to his aliens, and you actually contribute to that as well in gameplay, which is something that Alien Force didn't do. The only complaint that I have about the story is that bosses feel like they are just on other planets just to be bosses aside from one person. But otherwise, this is my favorite story out of the games that I played. By the way, I don't know if this has any connection to the cliffhanger that was in Protector of Earth where Vilgax was being remade and that he'd return. To my knowledge, there's nothing saying that these games are connected, but there's nothing saying that they aren't. It's kinda just up for interpretation. So, just to have there be no cliffhangers, I'm going to interpret that the two games are connected by a 5-year gap. The Xbox 360 version of this game looks really good. The lighting is great and the models are very nice. But I played the PS2 version because I don't have an Xbox 360. I wish I didn't always play a worse looking version of the games that I review, but I gotta roll with the punches sometimes, otherwise I can't do these reviews for a very long time. But even then, this game's look is still an overall improvement over Alien Force. Though it might be a slight difference, it does still look better in my opinion. The alien transformations and cutscenes are a quick green flash, which is exactly what I wanted. It's fast, it's recognizable, and it's simple. Compared to what Alien Force did, this is a lot better. Menus also look better too, since it's not just a simple green and black. Instead, it's green, blue, and black, and also has sound effects in all menus. Don't know why Alien Force did that. It might just be the PSP version of that game, but even then it's still weird. I know that I'm ragging on Alien Force a lot, but I am really happy about the upscale and presentation. The music, however, doesn't hold up as well as everything else in this category. Don't get me wrong, the soundtrack is good, but some tracks in the game don't fit Ben 10 Alien Force to me. In fact, they don't fit Ben 10 at all. This game, in my opinion, has the least Ben 10 sounding soundtrack of the games I've reviewed, but again, the music is still good. All except 3 voice actors are the same, those being Bellicus, who's a little obvious to tell the difference when you play the voices side by side, Cooper, but that's because there's no listing for his voice in this game, and Vilgax, surprisingly enough, is neither the voice from the original Ben 10 or Alien Force. He does do a good job though, and resembles the Vilgax voice from the original Ben 10 more than Alien Force, which is fine, but can also cause a little bit of confusion considering it's a Ben 10 original-esque voice with Alien Force's body. Not only that, but this game also released a little under a month after Vengeance of Vilgax aired, which gave him a new voice. But at least the replacement did a good job. Who, by the way, is a pretty famous voice actor and has done stuff for Cartoon Network in the past and a few video games as well, so yeah, that's probably why. As I mentioned before, a lot of things are different about this game compared to the last two, so thankfully my entire script won't be a similar copy again. You can play as Ben and transform into some familiar aliens such as Humongousaur, Jetray, and Cannonball, and some new ones like Brainstorm, Chromosome, and Goop. Using these aliens, you'll defeat enemies, go over gaps, and solve puzzles in open 3D environments of Bellwood and alien home planets. And now we already have some major differences. Unlike the last games, you can switch from Ben to his alien forms and vice versa whenever you want, even if the Omnitrix gauge isn't filled, and the gauge doesn't go down over time. In fact, it will recharge over time. Also, you won't go out of a form when the gauge is empty, going to and from forms don't refill your health, and alien forms and Ben share the same health bar. The only thing that causes the gauge to go down is using special moves. Doing these require either just a special attack input, or a combo input with your light and heavy attacks, and then ending with your special attack. Aside from combat, each alien has their own uses for going through levels. Swampfire is able to interact with anything that has gas streams and vines because fire burns things. Spider Monkey can shoot webs to floating green things and zip over to places and even string them together. He can also climb up poles and move along ledges. Chromostone, while standing on certain machinery, can continuously use his rainbow light energy to power other machinery and make it move. Echo is able to create clones that can fight alongside him or have them stand still to hold down pressure plates. When he shouts at glass-like objects, he can break them due to his sound waves. Humongousaur can break large objects and barriers, push and pull giant crates, open big doors that are partially open. Basically, if you need muscle for it, he can do it. Goop has the ability to wall jump off of walls that have slime on them. Brainstorm can hack machines where you have to solve puzzles in a set amount of time given. Failing these can get you hurt sometimes, so you want to be careful with these. With his electric shield, he can redirect the electricity where he needs it to be. Cannonbolt can ride off ramps, and some of these lead to sections and tunnels where you have to press the correct button to get through. These don't make sense being the way that they are, and could have been left out of the game, but whatever. Alongside that, he can turn gears and treadmills to move other objects into certain positions. Big Chill can glide and hovers over air elevations. Jetray can glide long distances and hover over air elevations. Basically, Jetray is Big Chill, but better. It's a good thing Jetray is the last alien you get. When Ben defeats aliens, he gains experience, and by getting enough, you can get a new combo for any alien of your choosing, if you have them available, of course. While progressing through levels, you can break objects which usually give you health. You don't get energy for your Omnitrix in this game though, since your gauge constantly recharges. You might also find one of 2 upgrades. Not those upgrades. The ones I am talking about are health and energy upgrades, which increases the respective gauges when you collect 5 of them. You can upgrade them 3 times each, meaning there's 15 of each to find. Whenever a new enemy appears, you'll be given a screen showing their stats. And in order to travel between worlds, you can control Ship, yes, that's what he's called, and yes, he is a he, and shoot down asteroids and enemies in your way. I can play as 10 different aliens. Thank goodness, I thought I would have to wait on that forever. Being able to play as 10 aliens in, Ben 10 is something that is almost expected, and finally being able to do that is great, though I still want to play as Diamond Head. Now, if any game past this makes you play as less than 10 aliens, I will be very upset about it. By the way, there is still a difference of aliens and a DS version, and it's not as much as Alien Force, thank goodness. But instead of Cannonbolt, you play as Upchuck. There could have even been a more obscure one like Blitzwolfer or Upchuck. I'm never going to be able to live that down, am I? It's always him. I don't know why, but it's always Upchuck. The aliens are also useful in and out of combat. For combat purposes, all of the aliens are balanced, and by that I mean everyone has something broken about them. Turning back into Ben while in combat is also useful since the Omnitrix gauge increases faster while you're Ben, so then you can change back into an alien form and use more special attacks, making Ben a lot more useful for technical purposes. The open 3D environment helps make the aliens' abilities stand out a lot more outside of combat, and that's one thing I love about these unique abilities, seeing how they are able to be useful in more than just combat scenarios. Though you'll use the alien form you get in a world more often than the others you already have, aside from Humongosaur and Spider Monkey, you use them almost all the time. It's kinda similar to Zelda games where you'll get an item in a dungeon and use that a lot more than the other items that you've gotten before it. Also, I really love how this game doesn't hold your hand. There are occasionally some spotlights that show you which alien you should use, but that's more for introducing the mechanic to you. Aside from that, they don't really do it too often. And for puzzles, you really have to think your way through things, and some of them are kinda difficult to solve. As a whole, this game isn't easy. Bosses are pretty hard as well. Vilgax is really stupid though because he has an attack that can zap half of your health minimum, and he can also have a bunch of enemies around you, which is a big issue, but aside from that, the gameplay was very enjoyable. Kevin doesn't really get much screen time compared to the others. For Ben, this makes sense since Ben is, the main character. But when looking at Gwen and even Grandpa Max and Paradox, he doesn't do much. It doesn't help that most of the time he and Gwen are forced to stay with Chip for about half of the game, and for the other half, he hardly has his skills shown off in cutscenes. Gwen has her abilities shown off plenty of times throughout the game, but Kevin doesn't do anything, even though he is supposed to be a major part of this trio, not duo. Kevin doesn't even use his material absorption powers once in this game and only punches one thing. Like, really? He couldn't do anything else? The animation for using the Omnitrix could be left out. The green flash from the past games worked out just fine, and it feels a little extra to have this, especially since you can't move during it. You are invincible while using it though, so at least you won't be punished in the middle of using it. You can still take damage while collecting a health/energy upgrade. This isn't a major thing since most of the time you'll find these upgrades when you don't have enemies around, and if you do, you'll more than likely take the enemies out beforehand, so you probably don't even know that this issue is a thing. Sometimes there is a loading screen in the middle of gameplay which completely halts the momentum of the game. It only happened to me twice when I played the game, and it's probably just a PS2 thing. I don't really know if the other versions had anything like this, and I'm not going to fault the game in its entirety because of this anyways. Fall damage is a thing, and it feels really insignificant since there's few times where this is an actual hazard, mainly because there's health that you can get everywhere in the game, so again, this isn't really a problem. The ship segments are completely pointless. I didn't expect to even control Chip and thought that just using him for going from one world to another was fine, but you don't get anything out of doing these, at least to my knowledge. The main reason I don't know is because you can skip these segments, and I did that for all of them aside from the very first one, and since they don't really do anything, there's no reason to not skip these segments and get them over with. However, I have this in the ugly section and not in the bad one because if you want to do this, then you can, and again, you can just skip past them if you don't. And instead of calling him Ship, I more often than not called him Skip, because I just, skipped him. If you're only watching this as your first video, my jokes aren't funny. I am very happy with the outcome of this game. With it being pretty different in overall design compared to the previous ones, it was a little worrying at first, but it improved on many things that I had issues with in Alien Force and did some things that the first game did great, even better. The experience was filled with fantastic gameplay and a nice story, and is honestly a new standard that I'm holding for the future Ben 10 games. I'm glad that this game learned from the mistakes of the last one, and hopefully the remaining games stay with the same level of quality as this one.
Okay, we should probably leave while the invasion is underway.
Oh, really? Are you alright? This isn't our dimension. What happened to you?
It's like something was controlling me, and it brought us here.
Do you know what it was?
Nanites.
How is that possible?
If I knew, don't you think I'd have an explanation?
Well, maybe I can take us back. Oh, great, it's not working.
I made that PDA with nanites as well. The other ones must be controlling that remote too.
So, we're stuck here?
For now, yes. Wherever here is.
Well, I'd prefer to not just be standing out in the middle of a desert. We can go to that building for now, I guess. What's going on, my fellow residents? It's me, the Frozen Cavern, and thank you guys for making it to the end of this video. Now, first off, I want to say thank you all for the support for the Ben 10 videos, as Alien Force is already at 800 views, and is now my second most viewed review video, and Protector of Earth is now over 1,000 views, and is my most viewed review video. So, again, thank you guys for all the immense support on that. My only regret is that for Protector of Earth, I was sick when I did that video, and is now the most viewed one on my channel. Yeah, that's very unfortunate, but as I said earlier in this video, you gotta roll with the punches sometimes. Now, in the outro of my Alien Force video, I did end up saying that there is something that was, connected to Ben 10 that I would be doing in the future, and if you haven't already known by now, I'm still not gonna say anything. Hopefully you know, because I've given more away than I probably should have, given with the fact that this is a lore episode, but when the time comes, more will be explained. Now, some of you might not have already known this, but my social medias are all in the description. My Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Discord are all down there, and there are all ways of you being able to make sure whenever I upload another video, have an update for anything else on my channel, and many other things along those lines. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more, as well as share this video out with your friends and family. But until the next video, take care.
I want you for a